In the heart of Lagos, the bustling city wakes to its familiar rhythm, the roar of engines, the cries of street vendors, the hustle of morning commuters. But long before the sun rises, Kemi is already on her feet. She walks the cracked pavement with purpose, her worn shoes echoing in the silence of early morning. The streets are still empty, save for the occasional street vendor and stray dog, but the weight of the city's chaos is heavy on her chest. Kemi's life is a story of survival, one that no one asks for but is forced to endure. An orphan since childhood, she never had the luxury of a family to call her own. The foster care system, which was supposed to offer her safety, had only delivered more pain. Accused of a crime she didn't commit, Kemi was wrongfully thrown out of the only home she had ever known. The accusation, as false as it was, stuck, leaving her to pick up the pieces of her shattered life in a city that had no place for her. Every corner of Lagos tells a story of struggle, but Kemi's story is different. It's the story of a woman who, despite everything, refuses to become invisible. She walks with the strength of someone who has had to fight for every inch of her existence, someone who has been pushed to the edge of the world, only to find the will to rise again. But the scars of betrayal run deep. Her former foster mother, Mama Ifeoma, had once promised her love and care, only to accuse her of theft when Kemi was most vulnerable. Those words still ring in her ears. "You'll never amount to anything. You're just broken." Despite everything, Kemi holds on to one thing: hope. It may be small, but it's there. And in the depths of her despair, she knows that the city can't swallow her whole, not without a fight. Before all this, Kemi's life had been different. She had once lived with her younger brother, Chike, in a small, humble home. It wasn't much, but it was enough for them to feel like family. The broken roof, the torn school bags, the empty pot were constant reminders of their hardship. But there was a warmth to their struggles, a sense of belonging in their tiny world. Then came the promise of a better life. Mama Ifeoma, a woman who had been kind enough to take Kemi in, gave her hope for a new beginning. But that hope shattered the day Kemi was accused of stealing from her employer. No evidence, no reasoning, just the word of a woman who had grown cold and bitter. Kemi was cast aside, once again left to navigate a world that had little mercy for people like her. The only constant in her life was Uncle Bolahan, an old man who had known Kemi's family for years. Despite his frail body and tired eyes, Uncle Bolahan was her rock. He didn't have much to give, but his words were always wise. He taught her that the world could break her, but it was her choice whether to stay broken. "The city can chew you up, Kemi. It's up to you whether you let it swallow you whole or use it to rise," he would say. As the days passed, Kemi found herself drifting deeper into the streets of Lagos. Survival became her only goal, and with every step, she learned the hard truths of a world that didn't care for her. Yet, even in the darkest corners, there was a flicker of light. Adebayo, a man she met through the local church, became that light. Adebayo, with his calm presence and warm smile, was different. He wasn't like the others. His voice, when he led the choir at Mass, resonated with Kemi in a way she couldn't explain. It was comforting, like hearing someone sing her soul into existence. Their connection was immediate, born out of shared moments and quiet conversations. Kemi found herself looking forward to their meetings after church, their words slipping into a natural rhythm. But as much as she wanted to believe in the magic of this connection, she couldn't ignore the nagging fear that something wasn't right. One evening, as she overheard a conversation between Adebayo and his business partner Samuel, Kemi's world came crashing down. "She's just a poor girl, Adebayo. She doesn't belong in your world. You're wasting your time." The words stung. They were the confirmation of her worst fears. Adebayo had only seen her as a project, a charity case. The warmth of their connection was a lie, and the betrayal hit harder than any accusation she had ever faced. Kemi's heart shattered in that moment, the realization that the man she thought cared for her was just as cruel as the world she was trying to escape. She fled, leaving everything behind: the church, the small dreams she had built in her heart. The city felt colder now, more unforgiving. The next few days were a blur of emotions: anger, sadness, confusion. But even in the midst of all this, Kemi knew one thing for certain: She wouldn't let this be the end. She would rise. With the betrayal fresh in her mind, Kemi began to strategize. She reached out to Tund, a lawyer she had once met through Uncle Bolahan, who had agreed to help her. Together, they built a case, and Kemi's determination to fight back became clearer with every passing day. This wasn't just about clearing her name, it was about reclaiming her life, her dignity. The city had tried to break her, but she would not be broken. The battle in the courtroom was long and hard, but in the end, Kemi emerged victorious. The truth, as always, found its way to the surface. Adebayo, once so confident in his position, watched as his world crumbled around him. The shame of his deceit was evident, but it wasn't enough to undo the harm he had caused. Kemi, on the other hand, stood tall. She had done it, she had fought for herself and won. But it wasn't the victory that mattered most, it was the realization that she had finally broken the chains that had held her for so long. Months later, as the dust settled and Adebayo's empire crumbled, Kemi found herself standing in a different place. She wasn't defined by the lies anymore. She had found work, built new friendships, and reconnected with the person she had always been, strong, resilient, and capable. But even more than that, Kemi had learned the most valuable lesson of all: her worth didn't come from others' approval, but from within herself. The quiet victories, the small moments of peace, were what truly mattered. As Kemi sat across from Uncle Bolahan in his modest apartment, the weight of the past no longer burdened her. The city had tried to break her, but she had risen. Her chains were broken, and for the first time, she truly felt free. This emotionally charged story focuses on the themes of survival, betrayal, resilience, and redemption. It's a journey that speaks to universal struggles, highlighting the quiet strength found in overcoming adversity. With a relatable underdog protagonist and a morally charged arc, this story is designed to be compelling and impactful, perfect for a viral YouTube story.